A very warm afternoon to you and welcome to the Midday News on Global TV. I'm Wuyi Agmofwegwe and we're live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the immediate retirement of all service chiefs and Inspector General of Police, advisors and Controller General of Customs from service, as well as their replacements with immediate effect. This was revealed in a statement signed by Willie Bassi, Director of Information in the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. The newly appointed officers are Nuhu Ribadu, National Security Advisor, Major General C.G. Musa, Chief of Defense Staff, Major T.A. Lagbaja, Chief of Army Staff, Rear Admiral E.A. Ogala, Chief of Naval Staff, AVM H.B. Abubakar, Chief of Air Staff, DIG Kayode Egbetoko, Acting Inspector General of Police, and Major General E.P.A. Ojedaye, Chief of Defense Intelligence. The statement says the appointed Chief of Service Chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, and the Controller General of Customs are to act in their positions pending their confirmation in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu has assured prospective investors in Nigeria that his administration will provide a better business climate for them to thrive. The president made the commitment during an audience with the founder and global chairman of Bharti Airtel, Mr. Sunil Bharti Mittal, Africa Group Chief Executive, Mr. Segun Ogunsanya, and their team at the State House in Abuja. Prince Adegoke now brings us details of the story.
This country has tremendous future with 220 million people, young people, energetic people. In the next 10 years, you'll be the third largest nation in the world.
While receiving the delegation, President Tinubu recalled his historic connection with the telecommunication company when he started as Econet Wireless while he was governor of Lagos State, stating that he facilitated and supported the entry of the company into Nigeria to liberalize the telecommunication industry. The Nigerian leader praised the growth of the company and welcomed the offer of partnership to further deepen economic growth and eradicate poverty among Nigerians. In his presentation, the billionaire businessman Mittal congratulated President Tinubu and offered him the goodwill of his company and that of his country, India, noting that besides being a businessman and investor in Nigeria, he is a member of the Business Advisory Council of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Mittal showered encomiums on President Tinubu for the key decisions he has taken within just 3 weeks in office, which have put Nigeria back on the global business reckoning.
If there is one country in Africa which has the potential to be the next big economic powerhouse, it clearly is Nigeria. That gave me very clearly a very strong reason for us to come and invest in a big way in Africa. And as Shekhar rightly pointed out of the, at that time, 16 countries, we have sold out 2 countries, Sierra Leone and Burkina Faso. Nigeria was the largest piece. So without Nigeria, it was pointless for us to go into smaller countries next door in Niger, Gabon, Chad. So without Nigeria, our Africa strategy doesn't work because that is the anchor of our Africa strategy. And if you, on the path that we have recently seen, floating of Naira, taking fuel subsidy out, organizing your oil production in a better way, I think the future is going to be glorious for this country.
We're firmly committed to the growth of Nigeria. We're firmly committed to the prosperity of this country. It's a country of 220 million people. And we believe that for Africa to prosper, Nigeria must prosper. And that is why we're here.
Meanwhile, Special Advisor to the President on Monetary Policy, Wale Edun, in his remarks said President Tinubu had always recognized the transformational power of technology and telecommunication for economic growth since his time as governor of Lagos State.
President Bola Tinubu has pledged to give priority and attention to the health and safety of Nigerians, noting that for any country to develop, the health of its people, particularly the workforce, is critical. The president spoke when he received in audience the co-founder of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mr. Bill Gates, and president of Aliko Dangote Foundation, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Again, our correspondent, Adegoke, now reports.
President Tinubu said his administration would do all that is required to make their work in Nigeria and Africa successful, particularly in the area of eradicating polio, measles, malaria, and other diseases from the continent. But he warned about the budgetary constraints and other issues around funding. While saluting the courage and commitment of Bill Gates in working for humanity, the president commended the partnership with Aliko Dangote Foundation. He praised Bill Gates' efforts in the area of climate change and in eradicating polio and malaria from Africa.
Hi, how are you? Good. Good to see you. Thanks for being with me. Really good. Good to see you. Good afternoon.
Dangote, in his remarks to the media after the visit, congratulated President Tinubu on his election and the successful assumption of office. He said the visit to the villa was to brief the president on the activities of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Aliko Dangote Foundation, highlighting their commitment to improving the health sector in Nigeria.
All is great. Things are, going well. We even congratulated him on the removal of subsidy, and I think he's doing a great job. I expect that it's going to be better for everybody. There will be more money now to put into education, into health, infrastructure, and other areas. And our own side is to help support him to make sure that he achieves his own vision and his goals.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu warned about the budgetary constraints and other issues around funding.
The organized labor of Nigeria Labour Congress NLC, Trade Union Congress TUC and the federal government have ended their continuous negotiations, which resumed today in the presidential villa in Abuja with a resolution to conclude in 8 weeks before implementation. The meeting adjourned with an agreement to put in place the framework of specific demands made by the trade union and NLC on potential deliverables that will benefit Nigerians. Our correspondent, Prince Adegoke, brings us more.
The presidents of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC, and Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, Comrades Festus Osifo and Joe Ajaero, said after going through the framework submitted by the federal government, the union will work out modalities of implementation through an instituted presidential steering committee and subcommittees.
There are some technicalities that are required beyond this meeting. So those technicalities will now move into the technical committee. So those technical committee will subsume into the presidential committee. But all these, we must conclude everything maximum in 8 weeks. So those technical committee, some will submit their report in 1 week. Once they submit in 1 week, we implement. Some we submit in 2 weeks, we implement. But the last should not exceed 8 weeks.
As at the end of this meeting, we have set up committees in those key areas to commence work on them to make sure that we wrap up in the next 8 weeks.
On the issue of minimum wage increase, they said the terms of reference, which were not agreed upon, would be looked at within 2 days in line with statutory laws. The Special Advisor, Special Duties, Communications and Strategy to the President, Dele Alake, said all the parties will continue to interface through the established committee before a final resolution.
Work groups have been constituted at today's meeting. There's a steering committee that will be like a clearing house, and there are other work groups set up comprising both parties, government and labor members. And these work groups will work together very, very harmoniously and very efficiently to arrive at the final resolution of all those demands.
Recall that the organized labor and federal government had met 2 weeks ago in an emergency meeting to avert an impending industrial action following the removal of fuel supply and agreed to reconvene on the 19th of June.
President Bola Tinubu has called for a stronger and better cooperation with the United States as Nigeria and the rest of the world move in the quest for renewable and other sources of clean energy. He spoke during a meeting with the United States Assistant Secretary of State, Bureau of Energy Resources, Ambassador Geoffrey Pryat, at the State House in Abuja on Monday. This was disclosed in a statement signed by Dele Alake, the Special Advisor to the President on Special Duties, Communications and Strategy. President Tinubu presented his own perspectives to the U.S. delegation on the role of Nigeria as an oil-producing country and the importance of revenue from fossil fuel to national economic well-being. Nigeria, according to the president, will honor all its obligations to climate change and quests for clean energy. As we turn to other stories now, the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, retired Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, says the agency has cancelled and rehabilitated over 23,000 drug users in 29 months. The NDLEA boss stated this at a joint press conference to flag off activities marking the 2023 World Drug Day in Abuja. Kikelomo Okere completes the story. We'll bring you details of that story in our subsequent bulletin. In a different development, the Nigerian Army Guards Brigade has tasked personnel on full discipline, physical and mental fitness for combat readiness. The Guards Brigade authorities stated this during the Warrant Officers and Senior Non-Commissioned Officers Regimental Competition in Abuja. Let's now join Kikelomo Okere for details.
These are warrant officers, senior non-commissioned officers of the Nigerian Army Guards Brigade, participating in the annual competition organized by the authority as a way to frequently assess the combat readiness of the personnel, especially at a time when the country is faced with security challenges. The personnel were tested on drills, weapon handling and physical fitness. The Chief of Staff Guards Brigade, Colonel Peter Oyegoke, tags the personnel on discipline and physical and mental alertness.
The essence of this training is to bring out the leadership in them, to bring out the comradeship. Discipline also is a part of it, and of course their physical and mental states is being assessed into this competition. The category of soldiers that are being assessed today are the senior non-commissioned officers. They constitute the sergeants, warrant officer and master warrant officers in the unit, and they are very essential to the cohesion and stability of any unit anywhere. So it goes without saying that for the army to function properly, this category of leaders must be properly trained at all times.
The competition is aimed in assessing the strength and area of improvement of units under the command. Kikelomo Okere, Global Television News, Abuja.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN Justice Olukayode Ariwola, has warned judges in the country against accepting juicy and irresistible gifts from corrupt people, especially politicians and businessmen, so as not to bring shame and disgrace to their families when caught. He gave the warning while inaugurating 6 newly appointed judges for the National Industrial Courts at the Supreme Court complex. The CJN advised the newly inaugurated judges to flee from disguised dangers. Sandra Akbar has details for us.
Justice Ariwola says many high-profile cases will definitely come before judges in the course of discharging their duties in company of irresistible gifts, especially when they involve mouth-watering financial aid business transactions. The Chief Justice of Nigeria charged the judicial officials to conduct their affairs within the ambit of the law and the oath that has just been administered on them. The Chief Justice of Nigeria further urged the judges to redouble their efforts and dialogue with their conscience in order not to fall out of the grace of God and the Nigerian people.
You have just taken the oath that is meant to pledge your allegiance to the dictates of the Almighty God, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and of course, your conscience. It is a solemn pledge and commitment to good conduct in the course of your adjudication as judges of the National Industrial Court of Nigeria. Many high-profile cases will definitely come to you, and they may likely come in company of some juicy, irresistible temptations, especially when they involve mouth-watering financial and business transactions.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria charged the new judges to fasten their belts and roll up their sleeves to face the challenges head-on, adding that they must double their pace to catch up with expectations of litigants. The 6 new judges inaugurated are Justice Subilim Emmanuel Danjuma, Muhammad Adamu Hamza, Damachi Onugba Joyce Agede, Hassan Muhammad Yakubu, Buhari Sami, and Sanda Audu Yelwa. Akpa Sandra reporting for Global Television.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will on Thursday, June 22, join world leaders in Paris, France to renew and sign a new global financial pact that places vulnerable countries on priority list for support and investment following devastating impact of climate change, energy crisis, and after effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. This was disclosed in a statement signed by Dele Alake, the special advisor to the president on special duties, communication, and strategy. According to Alake, the president will participate in the two-day summit on June 22 and 23 that looks at opportunities to restore fiscal space to countries that face difficult short-term financial challenges, especially the most indebted, mobilize innovative financing for countries vulnerable to climate change, foster development in low-income countries, as well as encourage investment in green infrastructure for the energy transition in emerging and developing economies. This is Global TV and you're watching the midday news coming to you live on StarTimes channel 276 from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Do well to follow us across social media platforms at Global TV NG. When we return, more stories coming your way right after this break. Be sure to stay with us. Well, thank you so very much for staying with us here on the Midday News on Global Television. Let's take a quick look at business. Nigeria Export Promotion Authority Zones, NEPZA, says there is need to put strategy in place to industrialize the country through free trade economic zones, FTEZ. Managing Director of the authority, Adesoji Adesugba, gave this assertion while reeling out his achievements in office in the last 3 years in Abuja. He said industrialization of the nation will enhance creation of more jobs as well as boost economic growth. Kikalama Okere has more.
So NEPZA says goods from free trade zone economic zone are being treated like an imported goods in the market because it becomes more competitive in the market arena. Adesugba stated that free trade economic zone is capable of industrializing the investment space in the country. He explained that free zones have generated direct employment of over 170 jobs from the free trade economic zone, which 30 are fully functional.
In this regard, we intend to work very closely with the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission in the promotion of the free zones. We intend to continue also to aggressively try as much as possible to increase the number of free zones in Nigeria. To my mind, every senatorial district should have a free zone. We should identify what is best that can be put together in terms of industries. So we have clusters that we can also determine to give them such incentives and give them the license to set up the free zones. And
speaking on efforts made by the authority to promote industrialization, NEPZA boss says the authority have a system in place where it can use stock exchange to raise bonding for some of the companies coming to set up in the free zone, which will be of benefit to Nigeria. He also disclosed that the authority is working with the Central Bank of Nigeria to get an approval for offshore banking process in the free zones.
The FIRS. One will start wondering that what has the FIRS got to do with the free zones, considering the fact that the name itself, free means free of taxation, free of duty, and that's the critical incentive that attracts people to the free zone to do business. Well, we've had a few, the stakeholders generally have had a few disagreements on the way the laws have been interpreted. This called for a general stakeholders meeting at which we all agreed to come up with modalities of engaging the FIRS. It's still a work in progress for us. There are still issues that have not yet been clear that we hope we'll be able to put before the new administration to get a real policy trust. If we want the free zones to work, we must definitely be ready to give the necessary incentives. The incentives package must also be clear, it must not be ambiguous.
The managing director added that the authority has created its online platform and hope to launch it within 100 days in office of the President Tinubu's administration. Kike Lomo Okiri, Global Television News, Abuja.
And now time to get a kick out of sports. Seated in the presidential box as Nigeria tackled Sierra Leone in the Day 5 game of their Group 4, the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations, President George Opongwea of Liberia could not stop singing the praises of Super Eagles forward Victor Osimhen. Following his excellent season in which he scored 25 league goals to steer SC Napoli to their first Italian Serie A title in 33 years, President Weah, the 1995 World, European and African Footballer of the Year, had penned a personal letter to Osimhen asking him to keep working hard and breaking new grounds. On Sunday, as he sat in the presidential box of the Samuel Kayon Doe Stadium in Pennsville with Nigeria's ambassadors to Liberia and Sierra Leone, Geoffrey Odudigbo and Henry Omaku, President of NFF, Alhaji Ibrahim Musa Gasau, NFF General Secretary, Dr. Mohammed Sanusi, NFF board members, Right Honorable Nse Essien and Sunday Dele Ajayi, among others, the Liberian president could not stop singing Osimhen's praises. The Napoli forward did not, however, disappoint with an outstanding performance, scoring in the 20th and 33rd minutes to steer Nigeria into a 2-0 lead. Former world heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield believes British-Nigerian Anthony Joshua is more skillful than American boxer Deontay Wilder. Holyfield was a superstar boxer in the 1990s, becoming the only pugilist who won the disputed championships at both cruiserweight and heavyweights during the three-belt era, ahead of a proposed December tournament in Saudi Arabia featuring Olankshia Usyk versus Tyson Fury and Joshua versus Wilder. The 60-year-old thinks that both former champions are evenly matched, but considers Joshua more skillful for the interesting tie. And that's our news package for the midday news live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Don't forget, we are on Star Times channel 276, and you can follow us across social media platforms at Global TVNG. Thank you for watching. I'm Uyi Agbofwegbe. Do stay safe, and I'll see you soon.